Welcome to the Yunique Mind Podcast. I'm Dr. Yuni, a licensed psychotherapist, founder of Yunique Counseling, and a passionate advocate for mental and emotional wellness. This is your space to explore the transformative power of therapy, with a special focus on demystifying hypnotherapy and healing. Each episode will dive into topics that challenge limiting beliefs, unlock the mind's full potential, and empower you on your journey to self-discovery. So take a nice deep breath, open your mind, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Yunique Mind Podcast. Today we have the pleasure of meeting Teresa Rodriguez, an intuitive life coach and the owner of Eighth Dimension Pillars. So hi Teresa and welcome. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself today and what got you into intuitive life coaching.
My name is Teresa Rodriguez, and I'm an intuitive life coach. And my website is Eighth Dimension Pillars. I help people with love. A lot of, we were just talking before this, and we were talking about a lot of good stuff. And so, Yuni said we have to start recording now, which I appreciate, because there's so much that I've gone through and all these changes that I've been through myself, that I realize it's not just one thing that I do that helps people, like astrology and energy work, meditation, but it all comes down to the one, and that is the self-love. But I do help women, and especially now we're just talking about divine feminine power, the feminines finding true love, finding that soul long-lasting love that you're desiring. And so I help women. I've had men as well as clients, but I help to really face shadow, do the inner work, and learn how to love yourself so you call in true love. No more chasing, no more begging or trying to be someone that you're not. It's about truth, authenticity, and really, really living.
Yeah, I love that. And that is what the divine feminine represents, right? Is truly loving yourself and just acceptance, like true unconditional acceptance of yourself and loving and caring for yourself. And I think many, generations of women, we have been taught to sacrifice or it's selfish if we, take care of ourselves and focus on ourselves. So I think that paradigm is really starting to change. And we hear the rise of the divine feminine coming up to, when we rise, I think it helps others also rise. So I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the name of your business. Where
Eighth
did you get
dimension
the eighth
pillars.
dimension pillars? Yeah.
So for all of those that are familiar out there and those that aren't, so it's the eighth dimension. I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And a lot of people know that we're in the 3D, the third dimension, living in this human experience. And I've done a lot of work on myself, Yuni. I'm a work in progress. I always will be. I will be working on myself to the day that I take my last breath. And I was doing a quantum hypnosis healing technique session. And I had this, and I'm not, I know people who are amazing at having imagination and they can just drop into who they once were in their past lives and they help people with that and everything. And I can, with astrology, yeah, I can do past, I can do future, I can do all of those things, but my imagination has never run like that. And during this session, I was guided and it was so incredible and so amazing. And this was about 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And I went to another dimension. And I saw my future. I mean, it sounds crazy when I say it out loud, but it was real. It is real. Time is not linear. It's like it's all happening. It's already
Mhm.
happened and it will happen.
Quantum.
You
Yes.
understand the quantum. We're talking quantum, here. So that's where, I mean, I had visions of exactly what I'm doing right now, just in a different way, different type
Mhm.
of way. And so right now, my whole mission is to help people with love. All of the energy work that I do, it's based on love. Everything that I do, it's based on the energy of love. Love says no, and love has boundaries. And so I saw myself in the eighth dimension, and the pillars it's because I'm here to help with you to get the structure. It's not me. I'm the guide. I'm the conduit. It's
Yeah.
you who I'm helping to remember the structure, remember those pillars, and hold you up. I can hold your hand, I can hug, I can hold you really tight.
Mhm.
And I will do that, and I do that until you're ready, until it's time.
Yeah.
And even if you think you're not ready, you are ready enough. And I've
Right,
had
right.
clients, it's like you're ready enough and everyone knows it, and then spread those wings. So
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we all have the higher self or inner wisdom. Some people call it differently, but intuition, whatever. But I feel that, yeah, we are learning, relearning and remembering who we truly are, right? And we're rising up to that instead of kind of keeping ourselves small. And so, yeah, I love that. I love the name of that. And interestingly enough, I went to a psychic last week when I was in Sedona, Arizona, and she literally told me about the eighth dimension, eighth pillar that you were talking about. And she's like, "Oh, you're on step 7." Or level 7. And also my ex was still down in the 3D, even though he's deceased. But so there's these levels, right, that we can be aware of in the quantum and in the timelines. And it's so interesting. She's like, well, you're getting to the eighth eighth
how
dimension, I think, is
interesting.
which is interesting. Which I've also done those journeys, the future self journey and the spiritual journey. Actually, also experienced death of the body and my soul ascending. And that was very profound. I mean, it was just a very beautiful, surreal experience because we know that we're spirits in this physical body. And it's kind of like when our body and our spirit's ready to leave, it's just we can have a very peaceful transition. And it's like, oh, our work is done. Yeah.
Completely. And it's important. I mean, no one's getting out of this journey alive.
Mhm.
That's just what it
Yeah.
is.
We're all mortal.
We're mortal, and it can be peaceful. And I love how you shared about going to the psychic and getting to this different levels, and it's important that we realize and we are vulnerable. That's
Mhm.
part of being
Yeah.
authentically ourselves, but in our feminine power is being vulnerable, being soft, being
Yeah.
receptive. And that doesn't mean being led or being controlled all of the time. That doesn't mean that. You can lead and still receive.
Yeah.
And be soft, and you can take on roles where you're quite powerful. You're very powerful. We were talking about the divine feminines being the leaders in this journey of the divine masculine and feminine.
Well, let's define it for the audience so that they know, okay? Because I believe like there's a lot of confusion about, well, what is this divine feminine? Or, so for all of us, I think we have masculine and feminine energy within us. It's about balance, the yin and the yang, right? And I think the masculine has always been predominantly because we live in a patriarchal society, like that's the doing and the success and go go go, and that's what I call survival mode, right? But the feminine is really the receptors, that we're the healers, we're the love, the gentleness, the compassion. But it's also it's a feminine power. It's not a weakness at all to be vulnerable and a strong at the same time, right? So yeah, so I don't know, how do you define, I guess, the that divine feminine, energy and power that's kind of coming up now, that's really, vital for our evolution.
Well, I mean, I agree with you about the masculine, especially because we are in a patriarchal, society, that it's the driver, the doer, and the divine feminine, and also, did you say being in survival mode? That's what you had said. I believe, so I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And we each have divine masculine and feminine qualities within us.
Mm.
And traditionally, and we'll talk about like heterosexual right now, traditionally, but you can apply this to different, people, gender who identify differently or are attracted to the same sex. Um, so for me being, you know, mainly I live heterosexual. I want to embrace my feminine. I want to be the receiver. I want to be soft, and it's hard. I mean, this is for people who don't know me or have known me for many years. They've seen the transition. The others that are just knowing me, getting to know me now, you'll see that I'm so much more receptive, um, so much more respectful to myself. I have high standards and strong boundaries like I never have before.
Yeah.
And this is a skill. This is the feminine skill that I've had to work on, and I still work on every day. Every day. Sometimes it's a little harder, and sometimes it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But really, we each have those qualities, and it's about mastering. That doesn't mean you're ever going to have, you'll have a certain level of mastery, but practicing having this skill that calls to you.
I think that it's about balance, right? There's a time to be a little bit more go, 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 and that masculine energy, which to get, I call it, get shit done.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
also there's was that my feminine is really also about loving yourself, caring for yourself, recovery, being very gentle and compassionate with ourselves, and we're the healers, right? That this feminine energy is the healing energy, I feel like, and so we need both. I mean, we can't just sit around doing nothing and just being kumbaya, but we also need to like, have some energy and initiation and to get things done. So both are important, but I think predominantly women, we feel we have been taught we need to do it all, like continue to like push and be more and more, and it's never enough, right? So I feel like we need to get back to a little bit more balance for our own health, and most of my clients who come to me are in that survival mode where they've been taught to go and also very self-deprecating about ourselves, so it's a very negative, mindset sometimes that gets us caught up. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just how the world, runs. But sometimes we need to slow down and just be more receptive and also receive love. Like we don't give ourselves the oxygen or the love that we need first to fuel ourselves. And then we have much more energy to give to others. So yeah.
We have to. I mean, that was a lot. That's a lot to unpack. And I mean, you're absolutely right. It's all about balance. And we do have to have that masculine energy. We're doing that right now. I mean, you're driving this, and we're getting online, and we have a purpose here to help other people. And it's interesting that I have found that we could be, not only can we be, but it's important that we are, as women, more receptive and we receive. And because we have been taught, mostly we've been taught, and it's just, generation after generation, we need to do it all. We have to sacrifice. Or before, we were just in charge of the household, and then things changed and we had a little more, which is great. We can vote. And I mean, that wasn't that long ago that we couldn't vote.
Yeah.
I mean, we're what,
Surprisingly, yeah.
112, 13
Mhm.
years, something like that. I mean, we're,
Yeah.
and so I mean, it's great that we have this now in society, and now we're all, even the masculine, we're all learning a different role. Some masculine guys, men, we'll just talk heterosexual right now. I ask that your viewers, please place this wherever it fits best for them. But we'll just say, some men, they want to be chaste and they want that. They're they're not quite sure of their role either, but we were just talking about the more the healing that we do, the more that we heal and the more we step into our divine power as
Right.
women, heterosexual to say, as women, the more that the masculine energy and even within women, like the more it settles, the more it rises up, the more it finds its role in this balance, this new balance of what we're
Right.
figuring out now. So it's a pretty great time to be alive. A lot of
Yes.
challenges. But I mean, speaking of challenge, I would challenge your viewers or even, clients, and I've challenged clients to be able to receive. Don't do it all. Stop. It's not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Um,
ask for help, ask for support, allow the support, and that's part of manifesting energy as well. I think a lot of times what we're too people are trying so hard to manifest, which is the irony about it is that it's really about allowing yourself to receive, you know. So we have many, subconscious blocks around, we've been taught that we have to do something to get something, right? Versus like this is the absence of doing. It's just being and allowing to yourself to receive the good, abundant energy and be in that abundance of love and prosperity and love and kindness, right? And people just sometimes like they say, "What? You want me to just do nothing?" And I'm like, yeah, that's the hardest thing for us as humans is to just allow, just surrender, just be. So yeah, it's a whole paradigm shift for people to realize that you don't need to chase. That's the comment you made say too. Like we don't need to chase love. We don't need to chase abundance. We don't need to chase, all the things because when we align, it comes to us.
yeah, and I mean, that's true, feminine power, man or woman. That is, we all need to be able to receive. And yeah, there's no chasing and doing nothing is actually doing something. That's just like, let's just say you're having conflict, with someone and sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. The best thing to say is nothing. It's so important and I would think in my line of work and maybe in yours is to learn how to receive, how to listen, to actually listen. And so because then you can truly figure out what the conflict is and help to solve it. And that doesn't mean you have to take a bunch of action. It just may be that all you have to do is be and be
Mhm.
patient. But every time, if you want to, I mean, if you want to live the best kind of life, it is about receiving, it is about being, it is about allowing, it is about um just being yourself
Yeah,
and being the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. You're human and we're all human, but also putting your best foot forward for
yeah,
yourself first.
yeah,
You have to put your mask on first, or just like they say in the airplane, otherwise you can't help anybody else. It just
exactly.
doesn't make sense, you know.
Yeah. We're like, electric cars. We have to plug in and recharge, otherwise we won't have energy to get around or do anything, right? So, but many females, especially who are moms and working, they actually are giving all of their energy away and not recovering, right? So that recovery is so important. And that's why, I love their meditations that you had a series of meditations for us here at the Bliss Wellness Center with Tatiana. And I love that because we as women especially need to refuel. And it was just a beautiful experience where you're doing energy work and channeling and literally you could feel the energy shifting, right? We were resting and recovering, but also receiving like lots of like beautiful energy. So yeah, I thank you for that.
Well, it was my pleasure. I have to tell you, and I probably said this to you because in class, but I say this all of the time, and I will continue. it's selfless and selfish. I'm here on this earth to do this work and I love it and it fuels me. And so being there, it's incredible for me to do. I love it. So thank you for being there. And I will add to that, as feminine energy, as feminines, as women, we need extra care anyway without doing it all. I've been in the same boat. You know, you're doing for everybody else, putting yourself on the back burner, pouring from an empty cup, trying to work, trying to build a business or have a business. And, you know, I'm speaking about myself.
Yeah.
And raise children and, you know, take care of everyone else's needs. And then all of a sudden, you feel sick, unfulfilled, by you, I'm saying me, lost, um, not sure about life, and suffering from things like, you know, I've anxiety is what's hit me. I would get very anxious, and even now it hits me here and there. I don't have anxiety, but I'll still get it here and there. And I realize that when I get that, it's because I'm not aligned with my truth. I'm not living my truth. So whatever it is, a symptom for you or anyone listening to this, we all know what when we don't feel aligned. And that's why I say remembering who we are and bringing that structure of the pillars, you know, getting to eighth dimension. And it's because we truly do know we've been taught and we've been groomed to be different. And so now we're needing to remember who we truly are, what our purpose is. And everyone has something different. And we can have similar paths, but there's also people who have entirely different paths, and that's fine.
Exactly.
But I would say it starts at ground zero. Jason Gaddis, he's a relationship coach. He's pretty incredible. He works with men and women. He does a lot of work with men, which is, I've studied men and I've taken classes that are geared for men because I want to understand them. But he says ground zero, and that's basically your baseline. You know, it's the baseline of being. And sometimes
Yeah,
some
that's
people,
yourself.
that's all they have to do. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's actually heard it to describe it dissolving all of the programs and all of the conditioning that we've been taught about ourselves to really get to the heart of you and to the truth, to your truth, and then just be in alignment. So yeah, it's really kind of shedding all the things, and it's not living other people's lives or expectations for you, but just really living in your truth and authenticity. And it just feels much easier and effortless, right? It's like, why was I trying so hard to do and be someone else, right? When it's like, oh, we're just supposed to be like our own unique self, and this is kind of why my name of the podcast was Yunique Mind, and my company too is because we all have a soul, a very unique soul that is here to do great things, and sometimes we just don't know what are we supposed to do here. So this is why we need like a guide or coach, someone to help us really get, back reconnected to ourselves. So another thing that you do is interesting, you help people with relationships. And we were talking before about, well, loving yourself is that relationship is probably the most important, that self-love and that intimacy with yourself. And as you said, listening is so important. Sometimes our body is speaking that, the anxiety is our body trying to get us to hear it and say, okay, slow down, stop, be in the stillness. But we really struggle with that. But then that also starts to impact, our relationships, right? How are we, interacting with others? And, we're talking about soul contracts as well, but maybe tell them a little bit about like, how do you help people with relationships? Yeah.
sure. Um, well, first I want to say that yeah, we can feel anxiety or anger or whatever those feelings are for someone else. It's your body giving you signs that your boundary has been
Yeah.
crossed. So I mean, I help women and I have high standards and strong boundaries like never before. And because I mean, for me, love is so incredible. It's so amazing to be in love, to give love. I mean, it's like a drug. It can be like a high, and that's why what I want to eliminate for people. I want to eliminate not the feeling of it. Let's keep that, but the high and the low. Like, let's do something that is slow love. And I help women with that. There is a way that we as women, we can lead and we can help. A lot of the time we can, we get scared when it comes to love or rekindling love if you're in a relationship that can be really difficult. It is possible, but you have to have shared values. You have to have the same values. You have to know how to resolve conflict and be able to be your authentic self in a relationship in order for the things that I help women with to work. But as divine feminines, we are the leaders. It just is the way it is. So I help women to drop the handkerchief, to still stay in your feminine femininity and drop your handkerchief and give the masculine a sign and a signal instead of feeling anxious or I'm going to drive this or are we going to go on a date or he's off on the weekends or we're going to make plans or I want to see, it's really about being. And it feels so good. um, it feels so good to be dolled up and gussied up and whatever that means for you, to have your hair done and to feel pretty and whatever that means. And to have somebody appreciate that, to have somebody who honors your dreams, respects your opinions, um, and supports you. And so I help women with that. And there are ways you can be in your feminine power and let and guide, well, not really, I guess it is kind of a guide. It really is giving that signal, it really is dropping your handkerchief of a man that is potential. And I say potential because I do believe in true love. I believe in great partnerships, and there are really incredible men out there. There really are men who are fit, men who are doing inner work, men who are spiritual, men who are drivers, and and whatever the package looks like for you, they're out there. I won't have the same package, as you, Uni, or anyone else. They could be similar, but like you said, unique, right? We're unique and we have unique desires. We just do. And we have soul contracts and all these other things. But I hope to give you the tools in order to be able to repel the wrong people and to attract the right people faster and sooner rather than later. We don't need to waste time or energy anymore. If you know what you want, and you're ready for this, because I say ready for it because you need to be able to be at a certain level of doing inner work. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody does. And you don't have to be at an exact level. It's just the ready enough. You're ready
Right.
enough. And when you're doing that constant work on yourself, then you're ready enough and you will call in your person. And it's truly calling them in. And it will
And
be
allowing them in.
allowing.
Yeah, right. I think that's the most important part because I tried dating about a year ago after I separated a couple years ago from my ex, and literally, I thought I was ready, right, to date, to allow men in, but I just didn't. Subconsciously, I was running this program. I don't want to be attached. I don't want to get back into that bond of marriage because it felt so constricting for me, for the 34 years I was together. And so, yeah, when we make contract or vow or promise to each other that sometimes, and if we are, as you say, we are, but we're souls having this. human experience. Like your soul attaches to this person, like lifetime after lifetime. And so you have to be very careful about how are you attaching yourself to this person. But there's subconsciously, I wasn't listening to myself. Wasn't ready. I was not wanting to be open to having a connection or a relationship, or, a commitment. So we really have to be honest and truthful about, are we truly ready? Have we done our work? Are we aligned? And are we even aware that we're not open to receiving, that relationship yet?
It's true. No, that's exactly right. And awareness, I mean, it's so important to be aware and like you said, know what you want. And when you started to date and you subconsciously you weren't aligned, it wasn't right. And it's important to um honor that and meet yourself where you were, I'm glad you met yourself where you were. That's what I do with people. I meet them where they are. I mean, I also help people with spirituality and self-love, but I believe that without some sort of spiritual alignment, that doesn't mean religion. It just means inner connection and whatever that means for you to a higher source and self-love. We need that as a base first. And there are people who are not ready to make a commitment. And that's fine. That's great. That's fine for them. And you and wherever you are. And there are people who are ready. And they're, for them, it's better to be with someone, work with someone. No one can fix, I can't fix your problem. And I don't know how to change it. All I know is that I can be there to support you. And when I mean, as a friend, I'm speaking to you. And when you find someone who's in that same mindset and it's aligned, then that's when you can have true partnership. And then there's still time. And then we have our personality, So the first thing is to start with yourself all the time, always. And then you move through steps and there's stages. And like I said, I help women with slow love. And especially because if you're not quite ready, or maybe you think you're not ready, because when you go slow, you're going to get exactly what you want. And you will manifest what you need at that moment. You just will. And sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't feel good. But with the right tools and the right support, you can navigate it and get to where you want to be over time.
So I want to go back to something that you said about dropping the handkerchief, because, feminists might have a little bit of like resistance to that, right? Even the part of me was like, what is that? What's happening when you say that? And what I feel is like we there's a misunderstanding sometimes. Let's A lot of us say, when we say drop the handkerchief or play the damsel in distress, it's not that we need rescuing or that we're helpless. It's really about, I feel like, allowing the man to take the lead, the masculine to take the lead, because we are always kind of, like you said, doing and planning and all the things. Like we even plan probably the dates and things like that, right? And the men also, I've heard say, well, I just can't please my wife. It's not good enough, right? Whatever they do. But sometimes it's about, allow someone else to take the driver's seat so that we can just be, partner that just is allowing ourselves to receive, right? So I think women we have taken that masculine role to the extreme where we're trying to control and manage everything. And that does kind of also tend to emasculate sometimes the man, because they feel like their role is to protect and provide. And also, so if we allow them to protect and provide for us, then we can feel safe, right? But it's really up to men also to do the work, to be in their divine masculine and create that sense of safety and, safe space for us to be able to just lean back.
That's their natural inclination. And that's
Mhm.
what I believe and what I've learned. Their soul is calling for is to provide and protect. And so I understand when you're saying about feminists and and having power, and yeah, you could, I mean, as women we're completely
Completely.
powerful,
Yeah.
and you can be whatever you want in your career, and you can drive and you can lead and all of those things. um if you don't want to always lead, especially in love, then it's okay to, it's not at all actually being a damsel in distress. It's a flirt, it's flirting. It's learning how to dress so that you're sexy, whether it's pants or a dress, or it's up to a turtleneck, or it's, barely any clothes. It's really what calls to you.
Right.
It's about being in that feminine power. So as a feminist and being in your feminine power, you're basically flirting and saying, and you're not just dropping your handkerchief for anybody. You're not, and this is high standard, strong
Yeah,
boundary.
very selective. Yes.
Yeah, this is very selective, and this is like, I'm talking, and this is different for everybody, but when I say slow love, I'm talking about not being intimate right away. I'm talking
Right.
about saying what you want, and because we'll talk about it from the feminist view. It's not letting someone lead your life. You're still in control of your life. And in fact, you must be and you should be in control of your life. It's about
Mhm.
laying parameters for your worth and what you will and will not tolerate. And they could be, harsh words, but that's really what that's what it must,
That's a boundary. Yeah.
that's
But
what
it's
it,
also, it's interesting, like, is the man paying attention? Right? Like, as you're dropping your handkerchief, that I think that the main, complaint for women is like, oh, my partner is just not present, and they're not aware, they're not listening, or they're just not connecting, right? And so it really does, it's like a marker, really, to say, see, how connected are you, and how intimate is that connection? And as you said, like, um there's evidence to show that when we are sexual with someone, and we share cells, right? We share, and it's we can attach ourselves to the other person, in very unhealthy ways, right? And so we have to be careful about how are we exchanging our energy with someone.
exactly. And
Mhm.
that's why, because I don't want women or anyone really to mistake that the sexual encounter as true intimacy. It is a level of intimacy, but it's not true connection. And when you are able to be vulnerable and have true emotional connection, I mean, the sex is going to be better anyway, really. I
Mhm.
mean, I know, as women, men, they can just have sex with women. And eventually, if all you have is sex, it burns out. Or if
Sure.
all you have is emotions and your sex life is not, and especially, I mean, it depends on the person, but generally speaking, if it's not, satisfying, then that's also can be a burnout as well. That could be a non-negotiable, or, something that's hard for people. But so you were just talking about, I just want to make sure to circle back in, because you just said some great points there. So yeah, the sex, we do share cells and that intimacy. So it's important that we have a connection first. If your partner, let's say you're in a relationship and your partner is not paying attention, and you are dropping the handkerchief and you're flirting, you're doing these things, it's because there's a disconnect somewhere else. They want to provide, they want to please you, they want you to be happy. That's all they want.
Mhm.
They feel like sometimes, oh, I can never please her. She doesn't know me. She doesn't understand me. I don't know what to do anymore. You choose, because I don't know what's going to make you happy. Why don't you just plan the dates? Because I just, I
Right.
choose something in here and it doesn't work. And, there's all these things and these complaints. But really it comes down to it. Men want to please us. I mean, like and let's just say you are in a relationship, a committed relationship, and you are, someone who has sex before marriage, and they want to please you. I mean, that is pleasing to them. But even
Mhm.
outside of the bedroom, they want you to be happy. They want, but men, generally speaking, they're different than us.
Mhm.
they are providers, protectors, and they're shooters and they're drivers. And yes, we can be that way as well, but because they have to, and let's just get down to evolution, right? They've got to blast it all out there so they can get the one, that
Mhm.
just, so that's really the way they have to be. And for us as being the receivers, we can still, and it's important, not only can we, but um, we must have high standards and strong boundaries, and we must choose and be choosy so that we can have the kind of life that we want. And we can still guide and get everything that we want by just laying these parameters down instead of driving and planning the dates. It's, what, I mean, I could just give you an example. What would make me really happy is if we went to something like this, here's some options, and then
Mhm.
let him take it.
Yeah.
You know what I would
So,
really love? And then
yeah.
it's
So one of my previous clients was having the same issue with her husband, and basically they were saying she has to tell him, I want to go dancing, I want to do this, I want, it's just literally she had to tell him every single thing that she wanted. And then finally, I mean, it took him a while to kind of get it, but finally he did it, right? Because she was so persistent. But it was really up to her to really communicate. This is really, and be very clear about it, right? And advocate for herself and say I don't and and they wanting the man to take on that masculine role, right, to do the thing, and then they could just like lay back and sit back and just relax and enjoy the ride, so to speak. So this is where we as women have to also advocate and communicate very clearly to what we're really needing or wanting.
Yeah, guys are different. They don't know, like you
Mhm.
and I, we need to talk and we vent and we talk and and generally speaking, we want to have this whole conversation. We feel like talking really helps. But for men, they just need you to tell them A, B, C, and
Yeah.
D, perhaps. But it
Yes.
just might just be A, and that's perfect for them. Going A,
Mhm.
B, D is like that might be a lot. So we could go A and B, and they just need it. And
Simple.
yes, I do
Simplify.
understand it can be hard. And for some women, they're like, I have to advocate for myself. And why do I have to plan? And why do I have to do this? There are, um, there are, I wouldn't want, I guess I don't, they want to say shortcuts, but they're not really shortcuts. Because there's skills that you can put into place that will help things to move along a little faster. Things that you can do for your masculine, for a man that helps him and helps them get to where you guys are balanced and you're also being pleased of the things that you want as well. And it's important, there's an old saying of happy wife, happy life, but I don't believe in that, actually. I believe it's happy spouse, happy house, because that's really the balance. And men deserve to be happy as well. And like you said already before, they are the providers and protectors. They want that for us. And yes, we can speak up, and there are things you can do to help that along, especially since if you don't want to feel burned out and some women will give up and that I want to help with that if they share the same values, if those core things that I said, if they can at least share the same values, the other skills of learning how to have conflict resolution, and dropping your handkerchief, so to speak, those can be learned.
Yeah.
But you want to
Right.
be authentically yourself and be genuine all of the time and be able to be that with your partner.
Something related to this is some people have questions about, let's say actually you want to leave a relationship. Um, and some people will call them like we have soul contracts or we have these soul connections and these patterns or habits, karmic energy that we're supposed to clear. And sometimes there's so I don't know if we have time to talk a little bit about,
Yeah.
maybe how you work with soul contracts or relationships
Yeah.
that, yeah.
100, no, yeah, I'll make time. Yeah, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we have these soul contracts, and we have, and some people will say twin flame, and we have kingdom spouse, and we have soulmates. We have all these different labels and different types of relationships. And yeah, I mean, I have scripts even for, you don't have to follow an exact script but I do have the way to exit relationships, whether they are something like a fling that's turned into a situationship type of thing, or a relationship that turned into a situationship, whatever it is, there are things you can say. And there are ways to address those situations. And the main point you need, the first thing you have to do is face whatever the relationship is. You have to face it. You have to communicate in order to be done with it and to be able to walk away. And it's hard. Oh, it is hard. And especially because people attach. They attach to that other soul. And we get this idea that it has to be this one person. It's this one person instead of the relationship that you want, even if it's just with yourself. Instead of the relationship, they're attaching to a person or a soul contract, when really we have the power, when we do the work, to let it go. And so by the work, what I mean is facing the shadow, having the conversation. It could be verbal, and I would really encourage people to actually face this. Let's just say there is, for example, if you're not sure, that this happened to me. So I was seeing someone and I wasn't quite sure. He seemed hot and cold, and I really, really liked this man. And I thought, he was pretty incredible. And I had, visions, all these things. And probably speaking to other feminine, women out there, you're like, this is the one, or this, there's all these things and it just seems right. And especially if you're a healer or energy worker, you're, and you could just feel it. But I had to step away from that. And I had to get into my more masculine, logical mind, because I know what I want and I know what I'm meant for, and that is great love. And I won't settle for anything else. And I don't want anyone else to. You can settle on, you have different things. You can go, oh, yes, this is what I want in this, but not settle for ever. And so I wasn't quite sure. And then I had said, how did I say this? So I have different scripts and you could say different things. And it was like, well, do you still want to, and I'm not quite sure, because I had this, come up in a conversation. So I'm not quite sure where you are with, being with me, or being with someone, or being in we're doing what we're doing, dating. And he had said, oh, well, no, we should spend more time, and let's do this, and let's get on the calendar and plan dates. And I said, oh, okay, and either way, I was ready. I didn't want to walk away, but I was ready to walk away, and I was ready to let him go if that was the case. And he had stepped up, which men will do if they really are into you or anyone else. And then, but then what happened was, later on, he processed it and it wasn't right for him. And we were supposed to go on a date. And that morning, it took him all that long. And that morning he said, we should talk. And I don't see anything long term. And I had to say, well, okay, then I'll let you go. And that was hard. It was really hard, right? I really liked this guy. But I know that the faster I let him go, then the faster I would have be vulnerable and open to another opportunity of the right guy coming, if he's not the right guy. And so, and it works. It just does. It works. And you can attract many, men or suitors that way, just by doing that. And I mean, I've done all these experiments with myself, and it works. And you don't have to go to bars. You don't have to get online. You can, but it's just really about being yourself, and you'll attract the right person. And let's just say soul contract. Let's say you're in a relationship with someone, you've been married for many, many years. This does also work. The dropping your handkerchief, being yourself, having those conversations, the difficult conversations. Are you familiar with the Gottman Institute? So they have a lot of great tools. Many people have a lot of great tools, but really being able to lean in and to have the difficult conversations the way that a man would be receptive, instead of the whole let's talk for an hour, it's the let me
Yeah.
get to the point,
Get to the
and
point.
let's maybe address one or two max, and then we go from there. And I want to say, and this may not sound sexy or romantic, but it's logical. And I do this in business. And also actually somebody brought this up to me, a romantic partner brought this up to me, which I just find so like hot and amazing. Why don't we put on the calendar every so often and discuss where we are and talk about the things, if there's major things, you want to address them right then.
Yeah.
But talk about them periodically so that we're addressing where we are, and I just thought that was amazing. So I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do that. Let's do
Yeah.
that. Um, and so I know that I believe that touched on the 3D and on different dynamics of relationship, but is there a little further that you want to talk about too?
Well, it's interesting you said that about putting the relationship on the calendar. It's also we need to put ourselves on the calendar,
Always
right? I mean, yes,
first.
but that's usually where, we tend to neglect ourselves, right? And the relationship does need to be fostered to grow, right? And we have to focus on it, pay attention to it, nurture it. So with anything, right? If you have a plant or an animal, you have to take care of it, otherwise it won't, grow. So here again, this is where it's really important. Like relationship is like the seed in a plant, and we need to nurture that as well. If we value it, right? If we feel it's worthy. And this is where I love when you say like, we don't need to settle for less. It's like we need to know our worth. And, if any the people who love and care about you will also, put you first or put you, or give you attention, and that, because they value your time, they value your work.
Of course they will. I mean, wouldn't you prioritize somebody that you care about? Yeah, and
Sure.
they
Yeah.
will too. And there are
Yes.
things you can do to help that along, including meeting and talking about where you are and everything. And there are, and I forgot, I did miss and I want to address the soul contract and the karmic relationships and those things like that, because they're there. And I've been through them as well. And I've
Yeah,
even
we both
circled back.
have. Right.
Was that?
Yeah, we both have. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. And I've even circled back and I've tried again. And and the thing is, if it's not right, it's not right. And you're gonna learn the lessons. And it's important to learn the lessons instead of sticking to stock toxic. Let me say that clearly. That's interesting. Instead of sticking to toxic patterns, break the patterns and then move on. Once the lesson and that contract, once the lesson is learned, the contract is over.
Done. Yeah,
It
it's done.
doesn't, you don't have to spend this lifetime working on it. You can be done.
Mhm.
And I thought that same thing for myself. I mean, I was um in a relationship for 20 years and I thought, I mean, I wanted to make it work and I just kept driving and trying and doing all of these things. And then ultimately it just it all fell apart, and I had to start with myself first. Yeah, I'm on the calendar every day first. And I mean, it is what it is. I like if if someone is hot and cold or the relationship isn't working, even when you're doing all these things,
Yeah,
then that's,
it's
you
not right.
ask yourself, is it the right thing? Is this
Yeah.
the right, after a time, especially, you can do a spell and you can, write on a piece of paper and you can burn it all. And that can help and it could help. The real work is to work on yourself and to know yourself. And then when you're ready to be done with that contract, end it. And
Mhm.
then it doesn't end there though. We need support. We need the right kind of support. Let me clarify that. We need the right kind of support to help you through the journey of the pattern changing, because pattern you want to go back. That toxicity is like it's a memory. We have all these cells that hold memories, epigenetics. And you can look that up if you're not familiar. And so we want to go back as habitual beings. So you
Mhm.
want to have the right support in order to break that pattern and continue on the right path. Um,
Right. So for me, when I do soul contracts work, it's usually with under hypnosis or spiritual hypnotherapy, but there's usually a lesson, you know, this is why we call it soul contract because or some people call it karmic contracts as well, but where there's a lesson that our soul chose to learn. And sometimes that could be choosing ourselves, or it could be, you know, not to caretake other people or rescue other people, whatever
right,
that was. For my particular relationship that ended after 34 years, which I left the relationship because I was trying and trying and caretaking this other person to, you know, my as a counselor, I think I need to fix this person, but that's not
right,
my job to fix them. And I really had to accept that was not my responsibility, that each soul is responsible for themselves. So in the whole process of detaching and recontracting and letting go of this old pattern or habit, actually just found myself and chose myself, right? And learned to care for myself. And that doesn't mean, you know, we don't have support or ask for help. It's more about us putting ourselves as a priority and valuing what, you know, we need and want and not trying to make someone else happy. So there is usually a lesson to this contract. And the sooner that we learn that lesson, the um, the faster we can move on and, you know, kind of evolve and grow and mature.
yeah.
Wisdom is
You're exactly right. And I am so, yeah, I have a lot of respect for you for respecting yourself and choosing yourself because it's hard. And when you're caregiving for someone else, and I've also been in that role, that is not choosing themselves, you're you're literally getting your life sucked out of you. You
for
you
sure.
you are emotionally and physically becoming sick
Yeah.
sometimes. And I'd
Yeah.
say most of the time because generally caregivers do not have support that they need, especially, I mean, even if you're, and I won't say just, but even if you are raising children, I mean, that's as a caregiver role as a mother, you know, usually mothers don't have support, generally speaking. And then if you're caregiving for a significant other, a spouse, and you're at a different stage in your life, I'd say you have even less support usually. And that's from my own experience. So I haven't studied this and, you know, haven't done a bunch of research and anything, but from my own experience, going through it and then talking to other people as I went through my experience, that's what I found. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, choosing yourself first is always the most important. And you can't change anyone or fix anyone. Please do not try. It's not,
Yes,
it's such a waste of time and energy. And
exactly.
yeah, and you can't anyway. And not even, let's say, because energy is real, and we can use our energy to
In
and
positive
project our
ways. Yeah.
energy on someone else and cause them to do something else, you know, and but you shouldn't, first of all, that's not okay. And you know, you'll reap repercussions, so selfishly don't do that. But also too, it's up to them. It's
Yeah.
their journey, and it's important for
Yeah.
us to honor that and
Yeah.
honor ourselves in our own journey and let them learn. There
Mhm.
are ways you can help people, people who you're invested in, who are you prioritize, like you know, your family, like my children, my partner, my, you know, my friends. That yes, I will put on priority, and I will do my best to help along and encourage to a point, and then I have to let go. And so the point gets to, like, if I don't know someone or they're not paying me, I don't give advice to people who are not paying me or they're not asking me. No,
Yeah.
I've learned my
Yeah.
lesson. Then I've learned to walk away. And I
Yeah.
do that with love because they have to. They're here for their own journey. They have to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Well, those are all great points. So we're about out of time. Teresa, maybe share how people can find you, if they want to work with you.
Sure. So you can find me on my website. It is called Eighth Dimension Pillars. That's as if, you know, we're in the third dimension now. It's the eighth dimension, and pillars, meaning the strong poles that hold up your structure. And I do want to mention, Yuni, that I do have a book coming out
Oh,
in
yeah.
a couple of days, digital version, October 1st of 2025. And it's called A Handbook for Human Potential. And it's a
Oh,
book collaboration. So I've written with about 15 other authors, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. Energy work, breath work, even people doing work with psychedelics, helping with that and depression and psilocybin, I believe. And my chapter is on meditation and using the power of unconditional love.
beautiful.
And I will want to mention one of a good friend of mine, Dr. Maria Christina. She's a health and longevity coach, is also in that book, and she talks about aging backward. This woman is almost 80 and she's in better
Oh, yeah.
shape than I am. She's incredible. And
Oh, yeah.
so I do want to mention that comes out here in a couple of days.
Oh, great. Congratulations. I love that. We definitely need more holistic, healthy ways to heal. And that's awesome that I love that collaboration. All right, Teresa, anything else? Any last words that you want to share that are
Thank you for having me on, Yuni. I really appreciate that time, and thank you guys for
yes.
listening.
Yes, thank you so much. Much love and gratitude for tuning in to the Yunique Mind Podcast. I hope today's episode gave you new insights and tools to support your healing and wellness journey. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit. You can also reach me via my website at uniquecounseling.com, and that's unique with a Y. Until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and keep exploring your unique mind. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. While I am a doctor, PhD, this podcast does not create a doctor-patient relationship, and the information shared should not be considered medical or psychological advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider before making any decisions regarding your health.